The ski lodge sat at 7,200 feet elevation in the Colorado Rockies, 4 bedrooms, stone fireplace, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the slopes. My grandfather built it in 1987, with money from selling his construction company. He died there in 2019, left it to me in an irrevocable trust along with enough invested capital to cover property taxes and maintenance indefinitely. My sister Emma married Greg Paulson 3 years ago. Greg worked in commercial real estate, always had opinions about other people's properties, always knew better than everyone else how to maximize asset value. He'd been circling the ski lodge since the wedding. "You barely use it," he said last Christmas while we were all there. "Maybe 6 weekends a year? That's wasteful." I was replacing a window seal in the upstairs bathroom. "I use it enough. My parents are looking for a mountain retirement place. They'd actually live there full time. Get real use out of it. It's not for sale." I'm not talking about selling. I'm talking about family helping family. They'd cover the utilities, the maintenance. You could still visit. I tightened the seal without responding. Greg hovered in the doorway for another minute, then left when he realized I wasn't engaging. Over the next year, the pressure increased. Comments at birthday dinners, texts about how his parents were getting older and needed mountain air for health reasons. Emma started joining in, talking about how I was hoarding family property and being selfish with Grandpa's legacy. The truth was simpler. Grandpa built the lodge for himself. He left it to me because I was the only grandchild who'd spent real time with him there. Every winter break during high school, I'd drive up and help him maintain the place. We'd spend evenings by the fire, talking about his construction days, his mistakes, his wisdom about property and family. "Never let anyone guilt you into giving up what you've earned," he'd said once. "Family will always have reasons why they deserve what's yours. Stand your ground." The irrevocable trust he established made that easier. The lodge couldn't be sold, transferred, or mortgaged without specific legal procedures. As sole trustee and beneficiary, I had complete control, but any major action required filing with the county and going through a title company. Greg didn't know about the trust structure. He just knew I inherited the lodge. 6 months ago, he shifted tactics. "Listen, I need to be honest with you," he said at Emma's birthday party. We were outside on her patio, away from others. "My dad has heart problems. Doctors say mountain living could extend his life. We're talking years here, maybe decades. I'm sorry about his health. Emma and I have been looking at properties, but everything's either too expensive or too run down. Your place is perfect. It's sitting empty 90% of the time, while my father's health deteriorates." He was good, making it about life and death, about family, about waste, making me the villain if I refused. "The lodge stays with me," I said. His expression hardened. "You're really going to let pride kill my father?" "That's not what's happening." "Then what is happening?" "Because from where I'm standing, you're choosing a vacation house over a man's life." I walked back inside without answering. Emma cornered me by the cake table. "Greg told me you refused to help his parents." "I'm not giving them the lodge." "Nobody said give. They'd pay rent. They'd maintain everything. You'd still own it." "No. Why are you being like this?" Her voice rose. "Grandpa would want family using that place, not it sitting empty. Grandpa left it to me, not to us. To me. He knew what he was doing. He left it to you because you manipulated him. Spent all that time up there playing his favorite, while the rest of us had our own lives." That stung because it was such a twisted version of reality. I'd spent time with Grandpa because I wanted to know him, learn from him. Emma had been too busy with friends, parties, building her social life. "Think what you want," I said. "The answer is still no." I left the party early. Over the next few weeks, Emma stopped calling. Our parents divorced and remarried to other people. Both reached out with gentle suggestions that maybe I should consider the situation and be flexible for family. Greg went quiet, which should have been a warning sign. 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I got a call from my property manager, a local woman named Sandra, who checked on the lodge monthly. "Hey, I'm up at your place. There's a surveyor here measuring the property." "A surveyor?" "I didn't hire anyone. He says Greg Paulson commissioned the survey." Something about preparing for a transfer. My stomach dropped. "I'll call you back." I immediately phoned my attorney, Thomas Brennan, who'd handled the trust paperwork after Grandpa died. "Tom, I think my brother-in-law is trying to transfer my property without authorization. He can't do that. The lodge is in an irrevocable trust with you as sole trustee. He doesn't know that. He thinks I just inherited it normally." Tom was quiet for a moment, Does he have access to any documents, deeds, titles, anything? No. Everything's in my safe. Then whatever he's planning will fail once it hits the county recorder's office. Any transfer attempt will trigger an automatic title search, which will reveal the trust structure. They'll flag it as fraudulent. How long would that take? If he files, 24 to 48 hours. The system is pretty good at catching unauthorized transfers, especially on trust-held properties. What should I do? Document everything. If he files fraudulent paperwork, that's a crime. Let me know the second you hear anything else. I called Sandra back. If anyone else shows up at the property, document it. Photos, names, everything. Will do. You want me to tell them to leave? No. Let them do whatever they're doing. I want evidence. Over the next 10 days, Sandra sent regular updates. Contractors came to assess renovation work. Greg's parents visited twice, measured for furniture, talked about which room would be their bedroom. A real estate photographer took pictures. They were acting like they already owned it. I said nothing, made no calls, sent no confrontational texts, just documented everything Sandra sent me, and forwarded it to Tom. This is bold, Tom said. He's spending money on contractors before the transfer is even complete. Either he's supremely confident, or supremely stupid. Can we stop him before he files? We could, but then you wouldn't have proof of fraud. Right now, he's just planning. The moment he files forged transfer documents, he commits a felony. So we wait, and I'll contact the county recorder's office. Give them a heads up that fraudulent paperwork might be coming for your property. They'll be watching for it. Thanksgiving was at my parents' house in Denver, my mother's third marriage, to a cardiologist named Richard, who hosted holidays at his large house in Cherry Hills. The whole family would be there. Emma and Greg, my dad and his wife, various aunts and uncles, my younger brother, who was studying engineering at Boulder. I almost didn't go, but something told me Greg would make his announcement there, in front of everyone, using the family gathering as social pressure to make me accept the situation. I arrived at 2 p.m. with wine and bread from a local bakery. The house smelled like roasting turkey and cinnamon. Football played on 3 different televisions. Kids ran through rooms chasing each other. Greg found me in the kitchen within 5 minutes. Can we talk? He gestured toward the study. Right here is fine. He glanced around at my mother and Richard preparing side dishes. It's private. Whatever you need to say it here. His jaw tightened. Fine. I wanted to give you a heads up before dinner. The lodge transfer is complete. Paperwork filed, approved by the county. My parents are taking possession next Wednesday. My mother's wooden spoon clattered into a pot. What? Brian and I worked out an arrangement, Greg said smoothly. The lodge was sitting unused. My parents needed a retirement place. It made sense for everyone. You sold Grandpa's lodge. My mother looked at me with disappointment. I didn't understand. I didn't sell anything, I said calmly. The transfer is legal, Greg continued. Filed through proper channels, all documentation in order. My parents have already hired contractors. They're starting renovations next Monday. Richard turned from the oven. That's wonderful. Mountain living is excellent for cardiac health. Your father will benefit tremendously. My mother hugged Greg. That's so generous of Brian. Really selfless. I stood there watching my family congratulate Greg for stealing my property. Emma appeared from the living room, smiling, clearly in on the whole thing. We wanted it to be a surprise, she said. Something positive for the family. My younger brother Kyle came in carrying a beer. Wait, what's happening with the lodge? Brian gave it to Greg's parents, Emma announced, for their retirement. No, I didn't, I said. Greg's smile faltered slightly. The paperwork is filed. Transfer is complete. What paperwork? I asked. Property, transfer documents, quitclaim deed, filed with Summit County on Monday. Signed by whom? By you. The signature was notarized. The room went very quiet. I never signed anything, I said. I never agreed to any transfer. Greg pulled out his phone, showed me a PDF. This is your signature, dated November 18th, notarized by a licensed notary public. I looked at the document. Someone had forged my signature reasonably well. The notary was legitimate. I recognized the name from Greg's real estate office. That's not my signature, I said calmly. I never signed that document. I never agreed to transfer the property. Emma stepped forward. Stop being petty. The deal is done. The deal is fraud, I said. That's a forged signature on a fraudulent transfer document. You're really going to claim fraud? Greg's voice rose. Against family. At Thanksgiving, my mother looked stricken. Brian, please. Greg worked hard to make this happen for his parents. Don't ruin it. I didn't ruin anything. Greg forged my signature and filed fraudulent transfer documents with the county. That's a felony. Nobody forged anything, Greg said tightly. You signed those papers 3 weeks ago. If you don't remember, maybe you should see a doctor about your memory. It was a clever move, claiming I'd forgotten, suggesting mental health issues, making me look unreliable in front of family. The county recorder's office is going to flag that filing, I said. Probably already has. Why would they flag it? Because the property is held in an irrevocable trust. Any transfer requires specific legal procedures, trustee authorization, and title company involvement. Your quitclaim deed doesn't meet any of those requirements. The room froze. Greg's face went pale. What trust? The Mitchell Family Trust, established by my grandfather in 2018, a year before he died. The lodge is the primary asset. I'm the sole trustee and beneficiary. Any transfer attempt triggers an automatic title search, which reveals the trust structure and flags unauthorized filings. Emma grabbed Greg's arm. You said it was clear title. You said there were no complications. I ran a basic title search, Greg said weakly. It showed him as the owner, beneficial owner through the trust. I corrected. The actual title is held by the trust entity. Any competent title search would have shown that. My mother sat down heavily. There's a trust? Grandpa set it up specifically to protect the property from situations like this, from family members trying to pressure transfers or claim inheritance rights. He wanted it to stay with me, managed properly, protected legally. Richard cleared his throat. If the property is trust held, then any transfer without proper trust authorization would be invalid and criminal, I added. Forging signatures on real estate documents is fraud. Filing fraudulent transfer documents is also fraud. The notary who witnessed a signature I never made is complicit. This is multiple felonies. Greg's phone buzzed. He looked at it, and his expression changed. What? Emma demanded. County Recorder's Office. They flagged the filing for investigation. Perfect timing. Tom must have been monitoring the system. My phone buzzed next. Text from Tom. Fraudulent filing flagged. County investigating. Sheriff's office notified. Do you want to press charges? I texted back. Yes. Full prosecution. I looked up at Greg. The county has flagged your filing as fraudulent. They're opening an investigation. The sheriff's office has been notified. This is insane, Emma said. You're going to have your own brother-in-law arrested over a property transfer. I'm going to have the person who forged my signature and filed fraudulent documents arrested. That person happens to be my brother-in-law. It was a mistake, Greg said quickly. A paperwork error. I'll withdraw the filing. Too late. Once the county flags something, it's out of your hands. Their fraud investigation unit handles it. My mother was crying. Brian, you're tearing this family apart. I'm not doing anything. Greg committed a crime. The legal system is responding. Over a vacation house. Over a felony. Over forged documents. Over someone trying to steal property. My grandfather specifically protected with a trust, because he knew this might happen. Kyle set down his beer. So Grandpa saw this coming. He saw the possibility. He'd watched friends lose property to family pressure, guilt, manipulation. He built the trust structure to prevent it. And you never told anyone. Emma's voice shook. You let us all think you just inherited it normally. Because it was none of your business. The trust is confidential. I have no legal obligation to disclose its existence unless someone tries to transfer the property, which is exactly what you wanted, Greg said bitterly. You wanted me to file fraudulent paperwork so you could have me arrested. I wanted you to stop pressuring me about the property. You chose to escalate to forgery and fraud. That's on you. Richard's phone rang. He answered, spoke briefly, hung up. That was my attorney friend at the district attorney's office. Summit County has referred your case to them. They're opening a criminal investigation. Emma rounded on him. Why are you telling us that? Because you should know the situation. Property fraud is taken seriously in Colorado, especially in mountain counties where vacation home scams are common. If Greg forged signatures and filed fraudulent transfers, he's looking at felony charges. Greg sat down hard. This is over a lodge, a building. We're family. Family doesn't forge signatures, I said. Family doesn't file fraudulent transfer documents. Family doesn't try to steal property through legal manipulation. My phone rang. Tom calling. Excuse me, I said, stepping into the hallway. Brian, I just talked to the county recorder's office. They've pulled the filing, revoked the transfer, and flagged Greg's notary for investigation. The DA's office is reviewing for criminal charges. What do you want to do? Press charges. Full prosecution. That will likely end your relationship with your sister. She supported her husband forging my signature to steal my property. That relationship is already over. Understood. I'll coordinate with the DA's office. You should also know, Greg's parents spent about $15,000 on contractor deposits and furniture. They're going to lose that money. They participated in occupying property they knew wasn't legally transferred to them. That's their problem. Hard line, but legally sound. I'll be in touch. I returned to the kitchen. Everyone was sitting now, the festive atmosphere completely gone. The turkey sat forgotten in the oven. The county has revoked the transfer, I said. The property remains in the trust. The DA's office is reviewing criminal charges. Greg's father, Michael, stood up from the living room. I hadn't realized he was there. You're going to press charges against your own family. I'm going to press charges against someone who committed fraud. We spent $15,000 on that place. Deposits, furniture, planning. We gave notice on our apartment. Then you should have verified ownership before spending money. A basic title search would have shown the trust structure. Greg assured us everything was legal. Greg lied, or was incompetent. Either way, that's not my problem. Michael's face reddened. You smug little bastard. Your grandfather would be ashamed. My grandfather built a legal trust specifically to prevent this situation. He knew family would try exactly what you all tried. He protected me from it. Emma stood. Get out. Get out of this house. It's not your house, Richard said mildly. It's mine and your mother's, and Brian is welcome here. Then I'm leaving. Emma grabbed her coat. Greg, we're going. They left. Michael and his wife Gloria followed. Kyle watched them go, then looked at me. That was intense. That was necessary. My mother wiped her eyes. How am I supposed to choose between my children? You're not choosing. Emma chose to support fraud. That's her decision. It's Thanksgiving, and they tried to steal my property. The holiday doesn't change that. Richard pulled the turkey from the oven. Well, we have plenty of food for fewer people. Shall we eat? We had a subdued Thanksgiving dinner. Just me, Kyle, my mother, Richard, and my father's sister who'd stayed quiet through the whole confrontation. The food was excellent. The conversation was strained. My phone buzzed throughout dinner. Messages from Emma calling me selfish, heartless, cruel. Messages from Greg threatening legal action. Messages from my father demanding I fix this situation. I answered none of them. After dinner, Kyle and I cleaned up, while the others watched football. Can I ask you something? Kyle dried a plate. Did you know Greg was going to try this? I suspected he might do something. I didn't know it would be this blatant, and you let him. I gave him every chance to stop. He chose to escalate. But you documented everything. You had your attorney ready. You knew how the county system would respond. I rinsed a serving dish. I protected myself. That's different from entrapment, is it? Greg had a dozen off-ramps. He could have accepted my no. He could have looked for other properties. He could have run a proper title search. He chose fraud at every step. Kyle nodded slowly. Grandpa really knew people, didn't he? He knew family dynamics. He knew how money and property change relationships. He protected me because he'd seen it before. Do you think Emma knew about the forged signature? I don't know. Maybe she convinced herself Greg was handling it legally. Maybe she knew and didn't care. Either way, she chose him over honesty. We finished the dishes in silence. Over the next week, things moved quickly. The DA's office charged Greg with 2 counts of forgery, 1 count of filing a false document, and 1 count of attempted theft by deception. His notary lost her license for witnessing a signature she never actually saw. His parents lost their contractor deposits and faced eviction from their apartment for breaking their lease. Emma filed for separation after discovering Greg had taken a loan against their house to pay his parents' deposits, without telling her. My mother stopped calling me. My father sent one email, saying he was disappointed in how I handled things, but understood the legal necessities. The ski lodge sat quietly in the mountains, protected by Grandpa's trust, maintained by Sandra, undisturbed by family drama. I drove up there the weekend after Thanksgiving, let myself in, started a fire, sat in Grandpa's old chair looking at the slopes. His photo was on the mantel, gray beard, flannel shirt, slight smile. A man who'd built houses for 40 years and knew foundations mattered. Thanks, Grandpa, I said to the photo. You called it. My phone buzzed. Text from Kyle. Mom wants to know if you'll come to Christmas. I texted back, will Greg be there? No, Emma isn't coming either. Just immediate family. Then yes, I set the phone down and watched the fire. Outside, snow was starting to fall. The lodge was warm, secure, protected by legal documents written by a man who understood that family love shouldn't mean vulnerability to family theft. The property would stay in the trust. My future children would inherit it the same way, protected by the same structure. Grandpa's legacy wasn't just the building, it was the wisdom to defend what you've earned from people who believe family entitles them to take. I stayed at the lodge through the weekend, hiked the property, checked the roof, replaced a loose shingle. Sandra stopped by Sunday morning with coffee. Heard there was drama at Thanksgiving, she said. Some. Your brother-in-law still facing charges. Yes, she nodded. Good. People who forge documents deserve what they get. We drank coffee on the deck, watching the mountain morning. The property stretched out below us, 3 acres of pine and aspen, pristine and protected. Your grandfather was smart, Sandra said, setting up that trust. I've seen too many mountain properties lost to family fights. He'd seen it too, that's why he did it. You planning to keep it long term, forever? It'll go to my kids the same way, protected, maintained, safe from family pressure. Sandra smiled. He'd be proud. She left after finishing her coffee. I spent the rest of Sunday reading by the fire, the same books Grandpa kept on the shelves, old construction manuals, property law guides, wisdom accumulated over decades. By the time I drove back to Denver Sunday evening, I had clarity. The lodge was mine, legally and morally. Grandpa gave it to me specifically. The trust protected it specifically. Greg's fraud attempt failed specifically. Family doesn't mean surrender, it means boundaries. And sometimes the kindest thing is letting people face consequences for their choices.